Okay guys, yesterday I talked about some basic hand strikes that we use, okay? But I mentioned that in Aiki-jitsu you have to be kind of creative with your striking, and that's what I'm going to go over today. Because in Aiki-jitsu we don't have specific self-defense techniques, and I get asked this a lot, okay? With self-defense in Aiki-jitsu, we don't have a set curriculum for this is this technique. So for a right punch, we're going to do technique 1 alpha. We don't have that. We teach by concept. So we expect our students, as they get better understanding of it and practicing different self-defense that we give them to do, patterns that we give them to do, that they will get more comfortable with responding to the position of themselves and their opponent in real time of the attack. So it might sound even more confusing there, but I'm gonna go over all that. Bob is my dummy, but he's not a live uki, okay? So he's not gonna respond the way a person is. So I'm still very limited in what I can explain to you here as far as the reactions of the other person, but I'm going to do my best to give you some ideas of things that you can work with. It's all about being creative with your striking, using your brain. You don't need to think your way through it. Do all the thinking now in the training, because you're not going to be able to do it in the moment. One of the big concepts that I'm going to talk about, and this is something that runs through all of the Kempo systems, and that's one of the big influences of Aiki-jitsu as far as the hands go. But one thing you hear all the time is circles and lines, okay, where a circle ends, a line begins, vice versa, cutting circles with lines, cutting lines with circles, things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit with these. And I'm going to go over first one hand, and then I'm going to add in the other hand just to show some options of what we can do and kind of talk you through being creative with these strikes. Again, this is just training, okay? This is where we figure this stuff out. Get used to your body, your position, where you can get power, where you can't, where you might have position. Again, Bob is not gonna do anything but just stand straight up and down here. So that's very limiting. I was talking about striking, why you strike with different types of punches or different angles. If I'm coming from the outside, say I've been on the outside of this arm, right? And I wanna plow through right here on the side of his jaw. I punch with a vertical fist, okay? Now the reason I do that and not like this is because the likelihood of making contact with these last 2 knuckles I talked about yesterday is pretty high if I'm coming in like that. I don't want to do that. Now, I may be able to hit it, but his jaw is coming out at an angle where it's putting the probability on those last 2 knuckles, okay? That's why I switch. When I do this, I'm switching to a vertical. When I extend this line, okay, whether I'm on this lead or I'm back further, whatever position I happen to be in, if I've extended this line, what I'm talking about with lines and circles, now this is a very limited portion of this concept, is once I've reached the end of this line, I need to transition into an arc of some sort. Now I've got some options here. Again, I'm just talking about this hand. I'm not doing anything with this hand yet, okay? We'll get to that in a minute. So once I've extended this line, I can turn this into a vertical arc down, do a hammer fist strike to the groin, okay? Or to the abdomen, make a small arc, all right? I can turn an arc into my elbow and do a horizontal arc from here and just step in, okay? Use my stance. If I'm in a different position, I come through here and I want to turn my stance and just step arm it right in the neck. That's that hand. You figure out what you can do with this. I'm just giving you some options. So you go here, boom. You can go here, boom. You can go here, switch the stance, okay? There's a lot of different options. Plus you might have limbs that you can be doing things with. This is just one hand in this particular situation. So taking the same situation, I've come through here. However I've gotten here, my entry, we're not going into that. Bob doesn't have arms, okay? Well, whereas this hand can change into an arc or whatever, I still have this hand to make those intermediate beats, okay? So as this one is going to transition into another strike, right, I can be hitting with this hand. This gives me a little more option where I can risk kind of chambering this hand. It might be a punch, it might be a check, it might be a shove. I might have this other hand to worry about, putting that into position to rotate him maybe to get a different target, okay? But this hand is in play, that changes the game a little bit. I can go over top of it, long, hit the neck, then go, okay? So it's still my arc, hit, okay? If I come in here and I do collapse the elbow, again, if I'm quick enough, I can do that sandwiching where I collapse the elbow like that, okay? If I collapse the elbow and I want to step up, I can drop that into the arc and then bring this up. I have a lot of different options just from this limited little piece right here. I can come in here, right? I can do a strike here. I get the eyes with that. You know, it might be a jaw or a upward palm, but I'm raking down with the eyes. Okay? I might get up in here in the throat. I can come over the head. Where the head goes, the body follows. And I want to do that kind of as I'm stepping forward, the forward and down motion. Okay? So I'm bending his head down and back. I'm not just pushing him backward. If his punch come in, I need to dip a little bit. That's where I talk about that brown punch right here. Okay? When I come down here, if Bob were to bend forward, I can turn my elbow over and hit. Okay? And where that comes in, this comes up, and I've got that hand right here already in a circle here. Right there. Okay? So I hit, and I've hit, I'm going to collapse the elbow. Okay? I'm in that same position I was talking about yesterday, right here. Just I'm not using it to close the gap off the entry. This is my entry, my split, and then here. Or my split, and then here. Kind of at an angle from him. Doesn't have to be a hook punch to the face, right? But you get that same motion. When you're in close range, a lot of these shots change the way their targeting goes. Okay, so if you're kind of sideways to them, you can get in them. When I get in here, bam. Okay? When I get in here, bam. If I'm coming up with the elbow or, you know, I'm coming over the arm here, I'm bringing it up, okay? One thing I want to show is I don't want to make this big arc to make a punch, okay? When I'm coming into this, especially with the liver punch, I want to come up and at an angle here, right up under the pec. All right, what I want to do is, from this arc here, I'm going to collapse that arc down sharply to my ribs, and at the same time, drive with my hips and my body forward. Okay? So I'm here, right from here. So this would be, if I come up under this arm, it's kind of like a high block bomb. You know, I may get this first shot right here, and then, okay, get a second shot. It's great. If I come up under here, I might get this one over top of here, but this one's loaded, right there, all right? So you need to be thinking about those kinds of things. If he starts to move, maybe he jerks his shoulder back, right there, okay? You get that first initial reaction. If you hit it, you know that you have a clean avenue of approach here, okay? Once you hit it, then you can start going in, I'm ricocheting off right here, that first step, okay? Right here. All right, same thing on this side. If I'm coming off, I'm coming on the inside of this arm, maybe it's a haymaker or something, because I need a little bit extra to stop that, okay? And before that one's in there, as it's coming in, this one's just gonna kind of bounce off and hit the neck, all right? Then again, depending on how your opponent reacts, you can move in from there. You might feed that out there to see if they move, to get that slip so that you can get the back of the head and pull it in, whether it be a headbutt or an elbow, whatever the case may be, okay? It may be stick them in the throat, stick them in the eyes, okay? There's a lot of different things you can do. You need to practice moving your hips, different strikes. Again, when you're working with another person, you'll be using the footwork and the stance changes and all that stuff because they're going to move, and they're going to move in not necessarily predictive ways. The longer you do this, the more time you really want to spend with new guys or new girls because they don't move right, okay? They move like somebody untrained. And that's great because they're not trained to move a specific way that they've gotten used to by doing these techniques all the time. So you get a little bit more accurate reaction. Everybody has that partner that they love working with because they feel the best with their techniques because that partner makes it look the best, okay? But that's not necessarily, you're not getting the most out of that. One of the things I want to talk about for a drill that you can just practice doing with your hands is where you're going to shift your hips. So I'm just going to go in an open hand strike. I don't care to get them in the ear, just smack them in the face, claw on them, whatever. But what you got to do is this hand is going to come up. Now as this hand comes up and through, this one is going to come up underneath the neck here, okay? Now as it does that, this one is loaded. Now, when I turn into this, a lot of guys want with this strike to turn into that, but this is an intermediate strike. I'm using this as an opportunity to load my strong hand, okay? So when I'm here, this isn't the one that's got all the meaning. I'm waiting for something that's loading up, okay? So when I come in, I'm rotating a little bit, and then I'm rotating, do my low strike, and you're gonna go from there. But again, this is working on a bob or a bag. It's not moving, it's going right here, okay? So here, boom, boom, right? So, you're just working at, we have something that's called Heaven 6 we do all the time, and Standard 6 we do all the time. It's just very basic drills that we start with double stick, and it is just Heaven 6 is all up high, 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 okay? And you got 2 follow-throughs and a snap strike, okay? 2 follow-throughs and a snap strike. Call it Heaven 6 because it's a 6 count, it's up high. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A pretty decent drill that you can do. When you do that, what you see is you have the way of the river motion in there. So follow through right here, okay? Excuse me. Follow through, and then strike. We see this all the time. All of us have done this. Okay, ball. So way of the river, you parry, you thread through in front of the arm, okay? And then ball. A lot of times right here, what we're doing is we're parrying and we're grabbing this arm. We're pulling this arm, stretching them out like that, so they're stretched away, and then to practice with, to get your hands used to moving together, okay? So I can do a hammer fist, hammer fist, hammer fist, open hand, okay? That's fine. So you can do that, it's no problem. But you just want to get used to having those hands work together. Right there. Okay? You can go with open hand. Okay. Now the last thing is I just want to talk about is that, again, this is just with the hands. And it's just static right now. We're just talking about some concepts. We also have the lower body, we have kicks, but we're going to have movements in and out. You're going to have your reaction, your opponent's reaction. Everything's going to be different. Just ideas that we're working with. And so we just need to be creative. We don't know what position we're going to be in. We don't know exactly how our opponent is going to respond to certain things, or how we're going to respond to it, or what position we're going to be in when we do. So we need to try to hit all of those possibilities in the training. So again, got to be creative with it. Don't get stuck in this is what I'm going to do to this punch or this kick. We don't want to do that, okay? So I hope that helps. See you next time.